Thank you very much. So today I'm just going to be talking about the Kanmantoo project in South Australia, which is at the cusp of becoming Australia's next copper mine. The real plan for HIllgrove over the course of this year is to go from explorer, where we currently are now, into copper production, targeting that late this year or early next. For those that aren't aware, Kanmantoo is located just out of Adelaide. It was mined as a series of open pits from 2010 to 2020. During that period, it produced about 137,000 tonnes of copper, about 55,000 ounces of gold. Over the last 3 years, we've been drilling below the base of those pits to demonstrate a viable underground. And now we've recently put out a feasibility study which throws off about $200 million in free cash post-tax for a very small capital build of only $26 million. And this really puts it as one of the lowest capital-intensive copper development projects anywhere in the world. The project's fully permitted. It has all of the infrastructure that we require in place, including a $3.5 million per annum processing facility and a tailings dam, excellent community relationships, and as you can see, we've already started some of those underground works. Quick corporate snapshot, we have a market cap of $70 million, about $5 million in the tin at the start of the year, so EV $65 million. The only other things I want to bring your attention to on this slide is we have about $220 million worth of tax credits. This obviously becomes quite valuable as we get into free cash flow generations from production, as well as $17 million worth of franking credits, which enables us to push out about $50 million worth of fully franked dividends. 50 kilometres out of Adelaide, we have excellent access to market, only 70 kilometres down Highway 1 to Port Adelaide. Excellent relationship with the community, but in addition to that, being based in the Adelaide Hills, it means that we can access a high quality workforce without some of the, concerns or restrictions that are facing many of the fly in, fly out companies. So we approach the community relationship on a genuine win-win basis. We've been held up in industry as best in, well, held up by government as best as industry with regards to our community relationships. You can see here a picture of another community award from the state premier at the time. We also fully have a sustainability report that we update on a yearly basis. So that's all mapped to the GRI framework, and we also map that to the UN Sustainable Development Goals and the ICMM. All the infrastructure we need is on place, so 3.6 million tonne per annum process facility. We've maintained all the energy and water contracts. We're pumping water through the entire system on a daily basis. We're inching the mill, running the conveyor system, running all of the crushing system on a weekly basis. So we've maintained this in a position where it's ready to restart without any material type of refurbishment costs. We have all the critical spares you need on site, including mill motors, mill gearbox, spare trunnion, crusher swing stock, basically anything you need to get going, we have. So we're really positioned for a quick restart. Have a permitted and operating tails facility. So the tails dam itself actually has around double the capacity of what our current mine plan has. So as we continue to drill, add resource base in, we actually already have the permitting to be able to store the tailings dam in place. The pit itself is actually a very large asset in terms of providing us the ability to put the declines in at the base, access those loads very quickly. We have, as you saw on the first slide, already started some of those underground works, and what that has enabled us to do is put all the infrastructure at the base. So now down the bottom we have ventilation, we have crib facilities, ablution, we've got our power, water, tag boards, everything that we need to get going. So basically on day one we walk in, we're taking a 4.2 metre cut on the first day. Underground conditions are exceptionally good. You can see here really competent rock mass. This just means that we can turn over these areas really quickly and get that production rate right up. And only 13 metres in, we're hitting the high-grade mineralisation and starting to stockpile that on the ROM. So 12 months ago, the first feasibility study came out. The high-level economics are on the wall there, but basically $200 million in free cash post-tax, and we basically only have about 7 months to production. So pending the finalisation of funding, which should occur in the next couple of months, we'll have 2 months to mobilise in 7 months, and we're actually turning the mill on and producing first copper. With regards to the ore body, we're extremely well leveraged to the copper price. So our ore zone is really a high-grade core with a lower-grade halo. So all of our stopes at the moment, they really are terminating within mineralisation. So as copper price goes up, we've got the ability to basically just widen those stopes out and very quickly increase the amount of copper that we're feeding into the plant. And because the plant is only 40% utilised, we can do that without displacing any high-grade ore. So effectively just putting more metal into a higher price environment provides enormous leverage to a rising copper price. In addition to that, we have plenty of exploration upside as well. So last 3 years, we've drilled 122 holes. We've actually hit 143 intersections of basically economic grade and widths. This is over 100% strike rate. And each one of those drill programs has translated into an increase in resources. We had 1 million tonnes in 2019. We doubled that in 2020. We doubled that again in 2021. That's at the stage when we stopped, basically put out that initial plan, the $200 million free cash flow plan. But then since then, we've continued to drill. We've actually added another 21%, another 1.2 million tonnes to that resource base. And as that's brought into the plan, that'll grow accordingly. And all of that new information will come out over the course of the next month or so. And we're continuing to drill. So basically every time we're drilling, we're hitting something, and every time that we're running a program, it's increasing. And that's really quite exciting when you consider that we've only actually drilled 2 of 9 known lode areas within the permitted lease, and both of those are open at depth and along strike, and they're really only limited by the amount of drilling. So they're called Kavanagh and Nugent respectively. The areas that are within that initial mine plan are just highlighted there in the black box on the left-hand side. And we look at Kavanagh, so this is underneath the main pit there. It's had some really, really nice intercepts. We've had 170 metres, 1% copper, 0.3 grams per tonne gold, 166 metres, 0.9. But these long sort of intersections, they're really sort of made up of multiple high-grade lodes in the order of 10 to 30 metres true width, about 1 to 3% copper equivalent. And they'll be the main focus of what we're chasing underground. What we have also done is drilled down about 250 metres below where we've cut the current mine plan off, and we're seeing the mineralisation is still continuing. One of the deepest holes we have there is 3 metres, 1.1% copper, but a whopping 5 grams per tonne gold. So excellent sort of intercepts to be able to follow up on. Nugent, the other area that's in the mine plan at the moment, it was an area that was mined about 2015. You can see on the right-hand side is the open pit that was taken out. All the pink holes there, they're grade control holes over about 0.8% copper. The lode, or the model itself there, is what's currently modelled. And you can see the drilling over the past 12 months. That's all the yellow tags, the red dots there, is expanding that size of that ore body out. So we're now up to a position where we've added another 6,000 copper metal tonnes into that, which is not currently in the plan, but we'll bring that into the plan and release it out shortly. So in addition to, I guess, the depth and strike extensions of what's currently in the mine plan, we have another couple of areas we call South Hub and North Hub. So just firstly, South Hub, it's a collection of 3 areas. It's Emily Star, Critchley and Paringa. Emily Star, again, it was a pit that was mined about 100 metres in depth, everything open at depth, and we're now starting to drill below that with the intent to get an initial resource out that we can then bring in as an additional work area to the mine plan and thereby increase the annual throughput through that latent capacity in the mill. Some of the deepest holes we've got there, sitting there at 17 metres, 3.6% copper, 0.6 grams per tonne gold. So you're really nice intersects to be able to follow up on, drill down deeper and get a nice resource out. On the other side, we have North Hub, again, a collection of a couple of areas, Coopers and North Kavanagh. North Kavanagh itself is about 200 metres long in strike. We've drilled it down to about 100 metres in depth, fairly consistent, anywhere between 8 to 12 metres, 1.8 to 2% copper with about a half gram gold credit. And we only have one hole down deep at about 300 metres in depth. It's still continuing, 17 metres, 0.8% copper. So we have already started to drill that out, and those results will be coming out in the next week or so with regards to, again, establishing another resource area that we can bring into that initial work area or mine plan to establish another work area. And obviously, as we're establishing those work areas, we're bringing them in without any real change to the fixed cost, particularly on the processing and G&A side. So they're coming in at relatively low incremental costs, and we're able just to push more copper through that latent capacity in the mill, adding a heap of more value to the annual cash flows. So really exciting sort of period coming up over the next few months. Obviously getting these drilling results out for North and South Hub I just spoke about. We're updating the mine plan to include some of that drilling for the last 12 months. That'll come out over the course of the next month. Fully expect to conclude the funding within the next month, and then after that we'll be hitting our final investment decision, and then we start mining. And as I said, it's a very short period of time to mobilise and then get into that first copper production, really targeting late this year, early next for first copper, first revenue flows. And obviously as we continue to drill, we'll also be doing the North Hub and South Hub resources and attempting to bring them into the mine plan to go from 2 work areas to 4 and really try and bring that annual throughput from about 15,000 tonnes of copper well up because the mill itself obviously has plenty of latent capacity. So look, in summary, it's a low capital near-term copper play. It's got plenty of upside potential both to copper price as well as exploration upside. It's fully permitted. It's got all the infrastructure that we need in place. And I think when you consider that, we're at EV of about $65 million, exceptional value opportunity. So if you want to learn any more, we're out in the booth. But thanks very much for your time.